All right. First thing on the agenda is appropriation ordinance number 1233.
Maurice, what is the Waterwise Enterprises? What is that for?
Just gonna use the water supplies for.
Any other questions on appropriation ordinance number 1233? Entertain a motion to approve appropriation ordinance number 1233.
Mr. Mayor, I so move.
We have a motion to approve appropriation ordinance number 1233. Do I have a second? We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Proposed minutes of the May 7th regular meeting. Anybody see any questions or concerns about the minutes? Minutes stand approved. All right. Approve any items to be added to the agenda. Maurice, do you have anything?
No, just clarification that Ben Wyden wants to speak during the park improvements, and then also Dave Perry said it's up to you folks to choose a day for have a work session that you can attend. I'd ask the opposite, so we could discuss work session under the park improvement item.
Okay. Teresa, you want to add an item?
The ditch.
The ditch. All right. That'll be K, item K. You don't mind sticking around, Teresa, right?
Right.
Oh, yes, Pete.
Hey, yeah, thanks. We had the common consumption area on the agenda. I also submitted a request to talk about the closure of Fifth Street on June 15th. I don't know if that got in or not.
It was in the email, the
Yeah.
agenda was done earlier that day.
So we'll add it to the common consumption area, is that okay?
Yep, that works, thank you.
So we'll make that, item J will be common consumption area and closing Fifth Street. All right, ready? Here we go. First item on the agenda is St. Mary's red, white, and blue.
I'm Bobby Santa Cruz, and I'm the liaison to the city from Experience St. Mary's concerning red, white, and blue. And I think we're gonna come back, and I don't know what exactly we have to prove tonight, but I wanted to ask the city commission if Experience St. Mary's can design a handbill to be inserted in with the next round of city bills that go out.
This one we did with
2 years ago, I thought it was last year, but that's correct. 2 years ago, the staff just did it,
oh, they didn't,
it wasn't requested.
it wasn't requested. Okay. Just a consensus?
So the next utility bill goes out, theoretically on June 1st. You'll have it all done and printed and all that.
I highly doubt it.
Well, then you won't get it in.
And the next one, and the next bill is July 1st.
So we have a meeting tomorrow and we'll push that to the very front. I'm hoping that they can get it done.
Well, if it's done, then you're seeking consensus, so.
Okay. It's not done right now.
Okay. Matt, you okay? I'm against it, not against red, white, and blue, but I'm against this in general. So I'm gonna, but the majority of the commissioners are for it, so it's gonna pass, but I am against adding any inserts into the bill. end of
Thank
the
you.
statement. You're welcome. Is that all, or do you have,
What else, was there anything else that we had to approve from the last time I was here?
No, they proved
Okay.
everything, although we did put a map together to show, street closures and all that sort of stuff, so everything else is, should be good.
Awesome, thank you guys.
thank you, Bud, appreciate it. Next item is, storm damage.
Compared to what the previous meeting, in the packet, there was two RFQ.
Yep.
I was asked for one, both better than I would have done, so I didn't do it.
Anybody have any questions about the RFQ? Or either one of the RFQs? I like the second one. You did that one, right, Francis? Second one? It's not much different than the one, Dan, that you submitted the first one. Any questions, concerns?
No, what are we looking at here? Decide which one we want.
We decide which RFQ we want, which one we want to go with. Or do we want to not go with either one and have Maurice create something? You've been, put yours in the packet.
Well, I didn't do one because two, but
Yeah.
the alternative that you look at is to not do the RFQ and just have the adjuster work with city employees. That is the theoretical alternative.
Then who would do the work? Then we just.
Well, then we go out and get quotes or from.
Or then we take whatever the insurance company gives us, but our discussion of last time suggested that was bad.
Yes.
So I think the approach is sufficient, I think the second one's more thorough, so I'm
Yeah, that's,
gonna be happy with the second one.
I'm happy.
I think we should do it, that's the point.
So my question was the second one, award of the project, the city of St. Mary's may decline all bids for any reason. The award shall be determined by the majority vote of the city commission. So, I also see down here, the contractor's proposal may include a fee for the assessment assistance or no charge. So, just so I understand, I mean, I think this is a very thorough RFQ. If it comes time for any contractors to come and do the assessment for it, the city has the ability just to say, no, you did all this work, thank you, but we're gonna we're gonna have our own city employees do the work. Is that how I understand this?
So an RFQ is a request for qualifications. It's not a request for all the work to be done. So to release an RFQ, we're simply offering to contractors to submit their qualifications to do the work described, which is assist the city in the evaluation of the storm damages in conjunction with the insurance adjuster. And what the RFQ allows is the city to analyze the RFQs, which referred to as bids, but basically the submittals. We can accept or refuse for any reason. That's pretty much standard language, I think, in any RFP or RFQ that I've seen released by the city. But this one just opens it up a little bit, gives a little bit more flexibility, allows potentially more contractors to bid, but also allows contractors to bid as they think they need to. So it just gives more flexibility, so if a contractor thinks, I'm going to bid this way, it allows the contractor to bid that way. If the contractor wants to bid another way, they can bid another way. Specifically, if the contractor wants to bid it as, yes, I'll do the RFQ, but that will also guarantee me being the contractor on the job, that's an acceptable proposal. If the contractor wants to submit an RFQ saying, hey, I'll work with the city and the insurance adjusters, and I'll do that for a fee, but I won't be guaranteed the job, that's also an acceptable proposal. The contractor wishes to submit a proposal that says, I'll work with the city and the insurance adjuster, do all the work, I will charge the city $0, and I will also not be guaranteed the contract on the work. That's also a legitimate proposal. So it just opens up those three options. Talking to contractors, I think there'd be interest in certainly all three of those, so we might get a proposal for all three of those options. But it's not, there's no work other than just presenting qualifications.
You all right? Good with it?
So the question I have then is, looking at a second RFQ, how do you just circulate this? Do you directly solicit folks, post on the website? What kind of timeframe are we looking at? Is it by the June 4th meeting? Our next regular meeting?
I would like to see it by the next regular meeting, and I think posting it on the website is sufficient.
Directly solicit people?
I don't know what anybody else thinks, but, we need to get moving on the stuff sooner rather than later.
Can I?
Yeah.
Alright, so,
Who are you?
thank you, my name's Phil Chrismore, owner of Roof Technologies. Just a couple of questions I had. With the, do we have a scope of work of the buildings that are actually all in line to go get inspected? I haven't seen anything of that. Is there one umbrella insurance for both commercial and residential? Do we have any answers on that?
So, when we filed the claim with our insurance company, I just listed all of our city buildings to look at.
Okay,
Because the windstorm was one thing, but prior to that, there had been a hailstorm, and I was gonna have our department heads meet with the insurance adjuster and walk them through their.
Right.
So I don't have anything in writing for someone to bid on or to look at, other than what we sent the insurance company.
well, the reason I ask is because I'm willing to go, without any commitment, go do a full assessment of reports just to see ahead of time. One thing we like to do on all our insurance claims is to go look at assess the damage before the homeowner files a claim, because there's a lot of times where there's not enough damage, or every insurance company has a different qualification on what they want to see. State Farm being the most difficult, to American Family, knowing what those perimeters are. And so I'd be willing to go do a full report if I had a list of all the buildings. I've been on a few of them, and some are smoked and some are questionable, but just knowing, which buildings we haven't any clarity on what all buildings, is it, you know, every city building? Do we have a list of those?
I would have the department head driving around the buildings, if that would be
Okay.
sufficient.
Yeah, cause I'm willing to put something together for you guys for Tuesday.
But I think that's, we're looking at two different things over here. I mean, the RFQ doesn't require that, unless, because you don't need to look at the buildings to submit an RFQ, do you?
No, but with insurance, you know, if there's so many variables with insurance based on the insurance adjuster, if there's a disagreement, you know, but me knowing ahead of time what I'm in for, I know exactly, you know, what to say, how to work with them if we have a disagreement, you know. So by me going assess, I'm just doing that on my own, but I would be glad to put a report together to submit to you all, I guess out of help for the city.
But just get with you and you,
Yeah, we'll take a look at the buildings.
Okay.
go ahead, hold on. Go ahead.
So, on the insurance claim, is there a timeline with the city's insurance company to finalize the claim assessment and value and all the damages, and then have all the work done? Is it a 1 year or 2 year, do you recall?
No, I don't recall, but I do remember the previous time, many years ago, it stretched on for well over a year, but that was just work done. So what was said at the last meeting is quite accurate, but what happened the last time to us is that we agreed on the damages, they cut us a check. We then tried to get bids, and then, you know, we ended up with more money after the repairs were done, because we may not have done all the repairs. So, to answer your question, I don't know the time frame.
Yeah. Typically, they'll give you a year, or if it's 2 years, but if you have a signed contingency that is in the process, then it can get extended. I do know that.
Any other questions?
The reason for the question is the next city commission meeting deadline the correct decision? That's 2 weeks away. Is that enough time to put together qualifications and kind of know what the contractor would be getting into? Or do we allow for more time, knowing that, you know, it does appear with the timeline with the insurance company that if we have something in progress, rather than rush it, 2 weeks happens really fast. Especially now everybody's quite busy. Do we want to give more time for that?
If we're not rushed, I don't have any problem with extending it from, you know, if we have to go a month or even, you know, 6 weeks. I guess maybe ask you guys, the contractors that are here, how long do you think it would take to put together an appropriate RFQ?
I don't think it'd take much long if those are the requirements on here, you know. One thing I question on number 4, you know, commercial references, please provide up to 3 commercial references from projects within the state of Kansas. In our line of work, we're remote, we're licensed in several states. So why is it specifically for commercial, but there's actually commercial and residential here in the total claim of loss? So to answer your question, Mr. Klein-Smith, that it doesn't take much to get all the proper paperwork to you. I mean, that's not a problem. And I don't think that's a problem for the other contractors here.
If you do it by the next meeting and there's some issues, so we can't comply, we extend it. So, we're gonna circulate this on the website, and personally, people have contacted us and others that we're aware of, and the deadline and forth, and we'll gladly take you to all the buildings.
Can I just ask about that, your question about,
Number 4?
yeah, is that you would like to be able to provide references from anywhere, not just the state of Kansas?
Well, why is it limited to commercial specifically, and then it says, you know,
Commercial policy.
commercial policy,
First, commercial references, provide up to 3 commercial references from projects.
right? Why is it specifically to Kansas?
I don't think it has to be.
Okay.
I just wonder if we want to adjust it. I don't know the answer to your question.
Yeah, I mean, our line of work, I mean, we're close to several states, I mean, Missouri and Oklahoma and Colorado and,
We would clearly, it's good to have references. I guess the question is, are we willing to take it from other states, or is, I don't know if insurance companies feel differently from state to state. I really don't
it
know.
all depends on the adjuster.
But I mean, references, the scope of work isn't gonna really change state to state, is it? I mean, I don't know how, as far as commercial
I guess there's different code.
code in other states are usually more lenient than
Yeah, in
others.
Kansas, depending which area you're in, you know, there's permitting, there's different code requirements, I mean, it's just so random. So,
I wouldn't be opposed to, opening that up to just three commercial references, be it in a state or outside the state.
I mean, if you need Kansas, we can get, I'm just curious why it was specific to Kansas when, you know, we're licensed in several states other than Kansas. So,
Copy paste and minimal editing.
okay,
No other reason than that. So I mean, as far as in or out of state, the other day, we're setting it up for the contractors, so the contractors will have more flexibility. Often gives the city more options. So, yeah, in state, out of state, doesn't matter to me, that was just
yeah.
copy paste thing.
And I'll just add one more comment, I mean, there's a lot of work there, and amongst with all these storms, you know, the workloads of all us contractors, you know, how much can you physically get done in a time frame in a year? You know, I'm even willing to work, it makes things less complicated, to work with other contractors and kind of divide and conquer, because the insurance process is, you know, you'll be shooting yourself in the foot if you go out to bid. You know, I don't know when we can, that's a longer, or a conversation for a different time, the way that process works with the insurance company. Because that's what they want you to do, is take the lowest bid, because then there's always, 99% of the time, they're always missing product, measurements, things like that.
Right, well, and that's why we want to have someone to do this.
Right.
That's my understanding. I think in the immediate though, and that's also where we're looking for, the qualification for someone who can do that for us.
Yeah.
I think you have good input. How about if we just take off, all we're doing right now is trying to decide if we like the request for qualification. I think we do, though, I would suggest we just take off, please provide the 3 commercial references.
Period.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the reason I wanted to go and just do an assessment for my own knowledge, but I would share that with you all in our extensive report that we've done in the past.
Well,
It just helps me prepare to know what I'm in for, whether I get awarded the work or not. So, that's all I had.
Alright.
Thank you.
So I have a question in regards to this. So is the city of St. Mary's is seeking qualified contractors? What qualifications are we looking for?
the stuff is,
Well, I mean, there's different qualifications, like Class A, Class C, I mean, I don't see any of that in here. You're dealing with, commercial buildings, it's gonna be different than just residential.
I don't know what Class A or Class B means, Chuck, but when we say ability to assist the city in evaluation of damages, to assure the city is assessing damages properly, that's broad. I think that's meant to say, and that's why it's a good question, what do we own? That would define the type of, I don't know, classes, but whatever's covered under our insurance policy, we want someone who's capable of assessing damage to that. I don't know if we need more language to specify that, but this seems, see what I'm saying? Maybe damages to insured buildings owned by the city, to assure the city is assessing damages properly. I don't know, do we have to specify that further?
I don't know, I think the second one, the one that Commissioner Erickson put together is pretty, I mean, it asks for a lot of specifics. I mean, I think they really gotta get into what they know how to do, what they're capable of doing. Did you wanna add something?
What are we looking for? I guess,
I think that's the purpose of the RFQ, and each contractor might have, you know, a different way of putting it, they might have different certifications or qualifications. That's part of their proposal, is they get to list all of their, things that they're proud of, and accomplishments, certifications, awards, grades, all of that. That's generally part of the RFQ. And, it's their opportunity to explain just what those qualifications actually mean. I'm not familiar with the grading system, so I did remove that because I don't know what that means. But I do know that if we're asking for RFQs from contractors who need to show their ability, it gives them the chance to list all their qualifications, and it doesn't corner it into one grading system, which I'm not familiar with.
Yeah, and I think if you go back to what Phil said, if we had a list of all of the things that we have insured, but it says further down, scope of work, inspect and provide detailed reports of damages sustained on each of the properties. So if we knew what each of those was, then the contractor would know better than we do what that grade is, and whether or not they're capable of dealing with that type of problem. So,
Thank you for hearing me. Just want to answer the question on the grading. It's really not a grade, it's more of the Class A is a commercial general contractor's license. It means you're qualified to work on commercial buildings. And then, you know, I agree with what Phil said about contractors getting out ahead of the adjuster. It's kind of nice to I think it's in the city's best interest. When I brought it up at the last meeting, Gerard, you mentioned that you felt like it was an unfair advantage.
If one contractor were to be able to go out and not others. But yeah, I think I think you're right, Dan. If contractors wanna go out and get ahead of the situation and look at all the damages. But I don't think we need to put anything else in here, because I think any contractor that is going to submit an RFQ is I think that'll be one of their bullet points. Class A commercial license, you know.
They know what they require to put in there.
Yeah, they're gonna know, you know, what, the more the accomplishments, the better, or, you know. So, I think it looks pretty good. I mean, we just take out the wording about the state of Kansas. Any other questions? Okay, all right. Thank you, guys. Let's move on to, let's see, emergency backup generator for the fire department.
you guys get a few bids there?
We got 3 of them. Four, there was one added.
Right.
Right, so, Perry Electric is gonna give us, a discount on that. Get put in, so, we're gonna put him a concrete pad down there, put it on the north side, just see if you guys can approve on it.
So just so everyone knows, there was a bid for $15,974 from Blue Dot,
Right.
and there was one for $28,961 from Blue Dot, and that was talked about last time, that's that liquid cooling versus the.
well, and it was a higher capacity, so our question was, what is the necessary capacity?
22,
So that's sufficient.
Right.
Then Perry Electrical was quote was for $10,208. Great Plains Generator 16.5, Great Plains Generator 16.2. So there were 5 quotes.
Right. I mixed up a little bit there with the polar and the water tool and things like that, and then they come back with that 22 kW air cooled, more efficient, so.
But the 22 kW, more than efficient,
More than efficient.
more than that, more than capable of handling anything that we need.
Just out of curiosity, do you know what the capacity of that portable one is that we were running on?
You know, I've never looked at it. Yeah. But I think it's more the convenience of, and we could, of course, use this other portable amongst the city somewhere else.
No, I'm not arguing for that, I just wanna make sure that it's greater than or equal to that.
Compatible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had all three guys come down and look at the air tanks, to the air conditioner and the air tanks. the main. And really, if we had a major incident, we would have a trailer come down out of the county, that's going, our air packs right there on the scene. So, that's where we're at with that. About it.
All right.
Just want your approval on it.
A motion for the Perry one.
Yeah.
And then this is the same time that you talk about.
I'm sorry?
This is also the time, after you do this, you talk with Sid about his generator, and you got Brad to be here.
Oh, okay.
This is the item.
Come on up, Chief.
I did wanna let you guys know that I'm gonna put, I'll get some bids put out on a new grass strip this year too. So, but last year I looked at that and it's like, up there in 165, call 155, 165, and I think I could probably, quote out individually, so it's a lot cheaper, but I will get some prices.
John Maurice asked me for my input, if the police department would have wanted a generator, but I felt we ran the incident just fine on the fire department. I wanted to just focus on the fire department, because really the PD, I mean, we're all gonna be on the street anyway, so there's really no reason for us to have any backup power.
So you don't think we need one here at City, well,
For the PD.
for the PD?
And not for the PD, no. If you get one small enough to just open their doors and stuff like that, then not for the PD building. I wouldn't worry about it, like I said, we're all gonna be on the street anyway.
There may be a need for one for the utility department to have it, so just like the fire department, this door starts out. The one we had that was portable, I parked up recently, right there in the last out. So I told Don, let's sit tight and see what happens on this tonight. Police and admin, no, I don't think we need, 5 years ago, sizing it is an issue and costs. We don't have doors to open and that sort of stuff, so. But just so we're clear, if you want the Perry one, we have to approve it. And then we can carry this over to another discussion about utility.
Anybody have any questions on, or concerns on the bid? I agree, I think very good that 22 KW is sufficient to go with that one.
Okay, so I would move to approve the bid for Perry Electrical Systems for a 22 kilowatt generator for $10,280.
We have a motion to approve the bid from Perry Electric for 22 KW generator for $10,208. Second?
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Palmer Road Bridge.
Carry it over there.
I'm not here.
Yep. This was put on the agenda last year. We tried to work with the grant, it was not accepted. And then here give us the update that was presented last week.
Good evening.
Hello, my name is Tim Eisenworth. I'm the Public Works Administrator for Potawatomi County.
Brady Hedstrom, Bridge Design Manager for BG Consultants.
And we're just here to answer any questions you may have on that structure.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, hi, how are you?
Good.
What, I was not here last year when I think the discussion started on the bridge. What initiated the discussion on the bridge and, yeah, I guess there's a lot of infrastructure that certainly can be improved. so it's all about prioritization. What brought that one to your attention?
Basically, we go through our list of bridge projects every year, and all those bridges in the county is assessed a certain point system, basically 1 to 100. This bridge was at the point, it was below 30, which a lot of that, I believe, was due to the deck, very poor deck. A lot of the cross members and the steel was very rusted out, and that just was the red flag that, hey, this is the bridge that we need to start on the next, replacement plan. And at that time, we tried to run it through a grant cycle. We got with Maurice on that. Obviously, it didn't get any attention. And at that time, I brought it from the county commission again, because every year I try to give them 3 or 4 bridges for design. And at that time, they said, let's go forward with the bridge, let's talk to St. Mary's again, because obviously we thought that was the worst bridge that we had at that time. So that's kind of where we're at now, is bringing those discussions back up on that bridge.
So with regards to rusted out, I did go down underneath it, and saw the I-beams going across. There's rust in the surface. How is it structurally starting to be compromised? It looked like there wasn't any shifting. The deck, or at least the road surface, had some potholes in it. I mean, it's not the best bridge, oh, absolutely. But as far as being compromised or being at risk of collapse or anything like that, I'm not an engineer, but just quick looking at it, it seemed like everything was old but stable. But what,
I would say that's fair. So I haven't been involved in the county's bridge inspections. So they have a different consultant that does the routine inspections on it. Obviously, if something was at risk of collapsing, it would have been closed. Safety is paramount, but I think like Tim said, it's just conditions. So the deck and the superstructure have poor condition ratings according to the last inspection. Like you say, there could be worse ones out there, but I think what Tim was saying is it's kind of come to the top of the county's priority list.
It's just, sorry,
please.
just so you know, we're not doing any bridge inspections. There's a third party that does all the bridge inspections for the whole county. So, I mean, this is by no means, we're picking this bridge because it's in St. Mary's or it's because in Walmego. It's a contracted service, and, they inspect bridges all over the state. So, I mean, we take our bridges pretty serious, and when we see it, reach a threshold that we're not comfortable with, then we're gonna move forward with that, so.
And who does that inspection?
Yes, CFS or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, so CFS Engineers is a consulting firm out of Topeka.
And basically, they inspect them every 2-year
Yep.
cycle,
So this one is, still on a 2-year cycle. If it were to get bad enough that it was bumped down one more condition rating, then it'd go on an annual inspection cycle. So there is a, once bridges reach a
more critical state.
critical condition, then they are inspected more frequently.
Thank you, is that a report that we could see as far as when they came out and did the?
I'm pretty sure I can send it to you again, but I think I sent it to Maurice last year, but I might,
It would have been in the packet, I didn't resend it out.
but yeah, it's public knowledge, but we can
I
resend it.
remember it. I mean, I don't remember what it said, but I
But
remember,
resend it out, so
I
if you
remember
you haven't
getting
sent
it
it in.
in one of our packets.
Yeah, we can do that.
So what do we need to do going forward? What are you recommending?
Well, at this point, we have contracted with B&G Consultants. He has I believe Maurice would have gave it to you last week. We have a contract sitting on our desk for preliminary engineering. And that's what we're looking at now. And then I think kind of the timeline we was hoping for is if we could get that under contract, then we're probably looking at sometime around the first of the year for construction.
Yeah, if we were to get going on design, by the time we got something bid and then contractors to work on it, it'd be, first of next year.
Typically, we're looking at probably 6 months of design, I think, is what we usually try to figure, so.
Yeah, and then you always run into contractors are busy and not able to always get started immediately, so 6 to 12-month lead time from contracting, design, getting started on design services to having a contractor in the field, carrying stuff out is reasonable.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, so, yeah, I look forward to seeing the kind of their analysis of the bridge, just kind of how they broke down the surface to the, I guess, the main platform and also the support, just what specifically they saw. It'd be interesting to just kind of, to see what major fail points or potential fail points they're seeing and kind of the specifics on those, so. I just look forward to seeing those, so thanks for sending those again.
Just had another question about financing. We put in for a grant where it would be a split cost, half and half, county, city. Where do we stand now?
On the grant, I believe the grant was for an 80-20 match. That's 20% would have been our match, and then we would split that with you guys, however we thought, that would have been up for discussion.
Okay.
Right now, we're kind of looking at a 50-50 match is what we
But
was,
without, so there's no grant money available, this is just.
not unless we run it through another cycle. And if we did run it through another cycle, then you're looking at probably 25-26 funding.
Is that after the next inspection or is that some of the current inspection?
Those grants are actually, 2 of them's due this coming Friday.
And the last inspection date, it looks like was September of 23.
The reason I'm asking is because it's a lot of money
Oh, yeah.
with no help. And if it's not in a situation where we don't want it to be unsafe, but we'll have a better, we get an assessment of the actual status, that would be helpful. I'm also just looking at access, looks like there are 2, it's just getting.
So you meant, when you said 80-20, we would split 20% and then 80% would be covered by the grant
But right now, we're splitting 50%
of the total
of
project.
100%.
Yeah, 50% of 100%, not 50.
But there's no, Potawatomi County's received quite a few grants in the recent 2-3 years. So chances of us getting another grant for a while is probably a serious answer to that. We're probably not going to. I mean, we've gotten some funding on Bellevue Bridge, and we got funding on Armstrong, we got funding on Louisville Bridge, and those are all $1 million plus bridges. So I'm just being honest with you, I don't think we'll probably get funding for this. We may not, but
Yeah, we can try, but I would agree that it's not.
it's not likely, yeah. We've looked at alternatives as far as coming something else out on 24, and it's not a realistic. We had our local engineer, Nathan Burton, look at those, and they're really not, a financial option there. I know this is a fairly expensive bridge, but in all reality, in the scheme of bridges, this is relatively pretty small. I mean, no offense to anyone here, but to the county, like I said, you look at the Bellevue Bridge, that's several $1 million. Louisville Bridge is 1.6, Armstrong's 1.2. Havensville Bridge, 45 foot, we're 700,000 there. So, I mean, I know in the scheme of things, that seems like a lot of money, but bridges.
Things aren't getting cheaper, construction's not getting cheaper, from the perspective of a county that's managing an inventory of hundreds of structures, they have to be proactive in programming so many replacements a year. Can't be reactive and wait until things are to the point where you have to close them or they fall down. So I think that's where
Yeah, I mean,
Tim's coming from.
typically, we gotta do at least 4 bridges a year to keep up on that cycle because of the number of bridges we have in the county. The last thing I wanna do is get a call in the middle of the night that says the bridge is, it's failed. and then it's out of service, and then we gotta start design. Then, you know, you're a year and a half, 2 years out before that bridge can be replaced, so we haven't done anything. We've done some of the preliminary work already, you know, we've contracted, you know, with an engineer, you know, he's looked at it, our engineers looked at it. Like I told the commission, our commissions, at some point you have to move forward on it. I know that there's not a lot of people that live on past that bridge, but I don't think you want a lot of traffic going up through a trailer court either. I mean, pretty narrow road through there. I mean, and I know that you would like to have, you know, a better option, a large tube or something like that, but I think you really have to look at the volume of water that goes through there.
That is a mapped floodway. We have to really get survey and do some hydraulic analysis to, we try and estimate conservatively, you know, on the front end when we're in concept phase. But obviously, once we get hard survey information and analysis, we'd be looking for the most cost-effective solution. A new structure also would be significantly wider and, you know, safer in that perspective, as far as geometry out there. And consider that you're putting in something that should last 75 to 100 years, and what that area might look like 50 years from now. Trying to build proactively and be prepared.
Okay, I think we're gonna probably wanna table this until at least the next meeting to get more information, get all the commissioners up to speed on everything. So, we won't have an answer for you tonight,
No, that's fine. We just want, I wanted to come at least,
Yeah.
you know, so you could put a face with a name, you know, knew who your engineer was gonna be on the project. We're just at a point where we can't move forward, we can't do a whole lot of survey, you know, until we sign a contract, you know, with Brady. Well, I mean, that's just how it works. We can't find the numbers until, you know, we could take that next step, and I want you guys to be part of that next step. You know, I want you to be comfortable with it also.
Go ahead.
You can sign a contract anytime.
Oh, I know I can, but my commission's gonna say something else too, so. Is there anything that I can bring back or send Maurice, for your next meeting, I mean, to help you out, other than,
Like the bridge inspection report.
the bridge inspection report? There's a lot of information there, so, I mean, I don't know how well versed you guys are in bridges, but if you have any questions or anything, I mean, by all means, reach out to us and we'll try to explain anything on it. You know, that may help the group, you know.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Yep.
All right, item E is speed limits. Back up, Chief. I asked for this to be put on the agenda.
Yeah, no,
I just wanna, I mean, Mike, we've been talking a lot about, you know, foot traffic and sidewalks and, you know, crosswalks and stuff. Last year I had mentioned, I'd like to see, if possible, every residential area 20 miles an hour. Across the board. And,
Yeah, I know, we talked about that earlier in the year and the last year, and then those discussions lagged a little bit due to other things going on. And it just so happened, Wabego wound up doing something kind of similar. And we did look at that study and what was in that. And one of the issues with what we had wanted, which was basically citywide speed limit reduction, is the fact that statutorily there remains that burden of some study or something actually official that would determine that change to be made. It seemed as even Wamego had that obstacle, and so what they did was they just kind of called a few streets that were precisely the ones that were having the most issues and chose those for the overall study, and then those were reduced. So I think at that time, I think pretty much that's where we're at. That's where that one of the things I was speaking to with Maurice is I think the next phase is just figuring out if that's something the city wants to pay for, which ones do they want to
determine, I think the biggest one, which is also an agenda item, is that Second Street and Elm Street, because I get asked a lot, people pull me aside and they wanna know a little bit insider, hey, what do you, and I honestly don't know, I think there's a lot of, I don't mean this the wrong way, but competing interests, as in, like, some people would like to see this, some people feel this is necessary, where it's reached the point where, I don't know, it's a big, I don't feel like I'm qualified enough to really make that, because what the traffic pattern looks like, somebody who has the knowledge needs to look at that and make recommendations based on knowledge they have or even tools that they're aware of that we may not know there are. So that's kind of the overarching speed and also Second Street, Elm Street discussion in my opinion.
So we got one of those TEAP
Yeah.
studies done, and it helped us on the Second Street intersection.
Okay, right.
But they kind of all on the residential areas.
Yeah.
My suggestion would be to see if we can apply for that again with KDOT and just submit the WIGO study and say, is this acceptable for our city? Because we were having trouble defining what they needed to do, and it never really worked. And they gave Chief here a lot of suggestions on how to handle it. But that's one option if you want to have it studied, is to try to get another one of those TEAP, thanks to KDOT, as opposed to just.
I have a question about the study though. Even for streets that are not posted at all, you have to have a study in order to determine a speed limit?
Investigation.
Yeah, because I was reading for it, but by statute, it unposted is 30 miles an hour. So you still need something that would determine that you should be basically changing or doing something other than recommended by the statute.
And the study is also needed because in order for the city attorney to prosecute, correct? I mean.
Yeah, and that's one thing Berger's been very clear and he's remained consistent through all the discussions. And then through other engineers and attorneys that we've discussed, just to kind of get a second opinion, I won't remember, but just kind of get a second opinion, and they've been pretty consistent. And then, like I said, the biggest one was when WIGO did put their own, that verbiage is verbatim in your study.
Evidently, their scope of their study was narrow, it was just.
It was still individual streets, yeah, because in order to do the investigation, yeah, you still have to put, I don't know what the tools are called, but basically measure what the actual traffic flow, they actually have to do whatever mathematics to figure out what the reduction is. Yeah.
I'm not a traffic expert. I see that 30 miles an hour is the speed limit on Second Street. Everything on here that's green is unposted, which means it's also 30 miles an hour. Which means the speed limit is the same past his house, down a hill around the 90-degree corner as it is technically on Second Street.
Yeah.
To me, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I really need to.
You're talking about my house?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is, I believe
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
It's crazy.
So,
45, I'd say.
since what my opinion would be, your recommendation, we've had a lot of growth and a lot of changes in new streets and new traffic control devices and everything. They've always been added kind of holistically, but when have we really looked at what the bigger picture is and made an honest, something like actual educated look at, okay, this is what this should look like, and this is the traffic pattern, and this is how. I mean, that's what I would think, so, but we'll reset it to the T-TAP, really work with them and see what the high traffic streets are, or if they can do a full city one, and then that way we're actually seeing if we can take care of that.
Do they take into consideration, because I would venture to guess that per capita, we probably have more kids in this town per capita than probably anywhere in the state of Kansas. And do they take all that into consideration?
They did pedestrian when they did the second Mount Calvary. They did measure that. I don't know what device they used, but there was pedestrian traffic.
Well, like, more specifically, do they take those in the pedestrian foot traffic into consideration when they're doing the speed limit?
Yeah.
So you're saying, go ahead.
I just had a quick question, we do wanna measure all of these different metrics. The fact that 63 is gonna be worked on, will they be able to do those measurements
For the,
after? Would that, could they do it during the construction or?
this is a really long haul, because I know when we did the one for second Mount Calvary, application being granted that, and then them having the time frame to collect that data and then presenting it was, how long was that, like 6 months?
Wow.
At least
The
that.
construction will be over with, if we
Yeah.
get approved, it's one of these things, we just recently got one. I would hope that they look favorably upon it, because we got the other one that, you know, they kind of punted on it, so we didn't get the full one.
And if we don't do that, can we just have it funded ourselves?
Correct, I don't know what we'll pay for their study, but, we, no,
Back to the Wamego, they focused on certain areas, were they only allowed to change the speed limits on those specific streets? Or were they able to say, other streets are like these, so we're gonna change all of them based upon the samples that we took?
We only did on the ones investigated.
I guess that, I find that's frustrating because it's obvious that a lot of these streets that are green and therefore 30 miles an hour should not have as high a speed limit as Second Street. It's obvious.
We're coming down
And yet we
63.
can't do it.
Right.
Yeah, I think the local authority should, but it's
That's great.
statute, so it's not.
But I think we need to change it, so I think we need somehow to figure out how to.
Well, yeah, if we could get a study done, if we can't, I'd like to know what it would cost for us to say, we're gonna do it ourselves, and we're gonna have the whole town looked at.
okay. Well, so we'll work on the scope, contact KDOT, see what the time frame would be, even if, and then we'll look into see what the legal page, and let us know what they do from there.
I just don't understand this. Why is it a case? I mean, who owns these roads?
I totally, like I said, it's statute, state statute. I agree with you, I think local authority, as long as it's not anything that's used, but it is state statute.
State statute says your study is not good enough.
So,
And I'm not, let's take out what Bernard says for a minute.
I know what you mean, the verbing is. Where's
It
that?
says may be determined by an engineering and traffic investigation, the proper maximum speed for all arterial streets. Okay, so it makes those words there, and that's fairly understood to not just mean, it has to be formal,
Right.
Yeah.
I don't like it either. I agree with you, Matt. I think it's, we know, you're the chief of police for our city. The people of St. Mary's, they know the number of pedestrians and especially children that are walking around these neighborhoods. And I think it's just common sense to say, yeah, that street needs to be 20 miles an hour.
I'm curious to know how these things that are posted 20 miles an hour are posted 20 miles an hour. I would bet someone just went, okay, 20 miles an hour, put a sign up. I bet you they didn't.
Yeah, there were, that is like when I asked St. George the same question, because as you go in, they had what we wanted to do, which is all unposted streets, so, and grandfather did, so they did an investigation on it, and they write tickets on it, and they did whatever on it, but I guess 50 years ago, we shouldn't.
Should have.
It should have been.
Okay. Any other questions for the chief? Thanks, Chief. All right. Item F is sidewalk policies. And again, I asked that this be put on the agenda, and the reason being is I'm not here tonight to question the projects that have been done, the way they look, whether they needed to be done or not. My concern has always been, since we've done this, well, let me say, my concern has always been, we have a resolution, we have an ordinance that specifically lays out how we do sidewalks. Now, if the majority of the commissioners just say, no, we're just gonna take it on a case-by-case basis, then I'm fine with it, I'll keep my mouth shut on it, I promise. But I'd like to see about either we enforce the ordinance the way it is, scrap it altogether, or do case-by-case basis. But I'd like to see more consistency. Again, I'm not saying whether these projects need to be done or not. They probably, I was driving around and I looked at, especially the ones for the handicap access, I think those are all great. I just want to see about being more consistent. And again, if a majority says, no, we're just gonna do it the way we're doing it, then that's fine, and we'll go on that way. That's what I'm looking at, is I'd like to see consistency in how we approach this.
Is it something you want to table to have a full commission, or you want to discuss it?
I mean, if anybody has any discussion, or we could table, I mean, I don't mind tabling it until.
Well, I'm just saying,
Yeah,
it would be lacking one.
that's fine, we can. I would like to, that's kind of where I was going with this, was I just wanna see, if we're gonna do this, let's do it. If we're just gonna do it on a case-by-case basis, let's do it on a case-by-case basis. And if we're gonna scrap it all together, then we scrap it all together. But yeah, if we wanna, unless anybody has any comments on it, if you wanna carry that over to the next meeting, that's fine with me.
I'm sure you've given it to us before, but could I get, maybe all of us get the current sidewalk deals are
So most of them are in the packet,
in this
in
current
this
one?
current packet.
Okay.
And there's so many pages of it. Then also, Francis had sent me something today that you can discuss it or whatever, but,
So I'll just review that.
well, he had something to add, is what I'm saying, if he wants to add it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'm in the State House, and so being there, I have access to the Office of Advisors and the legislative research. And because this topic of sidewalks isn't just about St. Mary's, it's kind of a statewide issue, and talking to people who work with other cities, there is some major confusion out there. And I can ask the research department to put together a research analysis, basically paper on the history of statutes in Kansas regarding sidewalks, and kind of an overview of what all the statutes are and how they apply, and especially how they apply, including how they apply with the home rule policy for cities, and how that's just works constitutionally. By home rule, if you remember, I think it was late last year, early this year, we charter ordinance out of certain publications because of the lack of universality of the statutes on publications for cities of different classes, because it was not universal, because the statute was not universal to all cities. Home rule then trumps that and allows cities to charter ordinance out of the statute requirements. That may also apply to this. I did get a reply from the Office of Revisers. Those are the folks in the Capitol that write the state statute and all the bills and everything. And this is a senior assistant reviser, he's good. And he basically said, in summary, cities are not subject to a blanket prohibition on paying the cost for sidewalk infrastructure. There are various means by which a city may improve sidewalks and how those improvements can be financed. But he's referencing all these statutes. There seems to be a lot of conflicting statutes, but that was his general summary. Legislative research replied to me today, and he said that we'll have one of the research members put together kind of a research study. This is what they do during the summer, and this would be something available to all cities in Kansas. This isn't just about St. Mary's, this is a study on the statute, how cities should understand the statutes and apply them. And often that happens in preparation for maybe an improvement, an update to the statute. I think similar to what we saw with the speed limit statute. That's another one that it's just out of date, and that happens quite a bit in state statute. So there's a little update. Hopefully that'll be done by the next meeting. Sometimes they take a month or two to get their studies done, but whenever that's available, I will forward to Maurice and see if we can put it in the package.
But city pays 100%, that's one of our policies. We have a cost share that we established in the resolution, that's another policy. The residents can pay their own, that's, not really a city policy, but that's, if they wanna do it. And then there's this most recent volunteer group where it can be the property owner gets some people to help, and then the city covers most of the materials. Covers the materials and most of the labor, that they don't cover would be the tear out. Usually the city does the tear out, not always, probably, I don't know, or maybe it has been always, but So that's how that one, so we basically are operating under four, different,
Or it could be a fifth, I mean, you could say that the city has to get the volunteers. I mean, I don't, that's why I'm confused, because we have all these different ways of doing it, and again, if majority of the commission says, well, we're just gonna stick with these options, then that's fine, we'll do that. That's fine with me, but, I would like to see it be a little more consistent.
carry over.
Sure. Thank you. All right, item G is sidewalk, curb and gutter in front of the post office.
Two bids were in the packet, and one was sent out today via email.
Yeah, so we carried this over from last meeting, and I was able to get 3 bids. This is for in front of the post office, the sidewalk and curb and gutter, which goes from the alley, just south of the alley, to the corner of Palmer.
Okay, so the bid from, Vader Concrete, $15,827.
Okay, that's what it is, that's that handwritten one, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and ornamental, 17,368. And then Bob, I don't have the other one with me, was it Up to It?
Top to it, concrete, yeah.
And it was 23,000?
23.5.
23,500?
Yeah, 23.
Does it all accomplish the same way?
So, yeah, it does, and, the way we've been doing these projects, we try to work with these contractors to get a little cheaper quote. So we'll help them, we'll do the tear out and supply the gravel and any other sand or base material, and they just set the forms for it, finish it. So it does help cheapen the, it's a little bit for us doing the tear out and hauling it all off, disposal. And they're all 3 of these were aware of that. They all looked at the project.
Looks like the Vader is the cheap. All cheap, but all the comps is the same. We have no reason to question their capability.
Yeah, no, seems Vader, he does some work around town, done some, in fact, he did a driveway, first this point that we ended up paying for a portion of it because it was a manhole, sewer manhole in the middle.
With the Eubank,
Yes.
bed?
Last year. He did a good job.
Okay. Well, if that's what majority of the commissioners want, then entertain the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move we accept the bid from DeVater Construction for the sidewalk curb and gutter work, post office for $15,827 as presented.
We have a motion, we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the bid of $15,827 from DeVater Concrete for the sidewalk curb and gutter job in front of the post office. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, aye. I'm opposed to that, 3 to
Motion
1.
passes
3 to 1, yes. All right, thank you. All right, next on the agenda is park improvements.
So, Mr. Whitehead is here to discuss, and then we also want to talk about work sessions.
Thanks, Commissioners. Sorry, this was not in your packet. So this is a continuation of exploring adding pickleball to our park. On the front here, you have a drawing of the location and the proposed layout. Second page, I have an overview of the project. And then back page, I have some preliminary estimates for total costs.
You get 4 pickleball courts in there, that space. Didn't know there was 6 more.
So a couple of points about the design that I want to point out. We propose moving or adding 5 feet of concrete to the east of the current tennis courts. So that way we can shift the tennis courts east by 5 feet to fit in pickleball courts to avoid drainage and elevation issues or slope issues.
The old bathhouse or the old pool house would stay.
Yes, so we're just talking about moving the tennis courts eastward,
Yeah.
so we can fit these in on the west side.
It's like you'd be adding park,
So
the south side of landscape.
big piece of this is taking out this circle driveway around the current tennis courts. I view that as a safety issue, along with just inefficient use of space. So we would be taking that road out, and then if we wanted to add parking there to the exterior of the park, this could be a potential solution for that.
Then when you said you're moving the tennis courts to the west, east, are you adding more concrete on that side too?
So there's a strip of about 8 feet of grass, so we would add 5 feet of concrete,
So, okay, that's where you, okay.
enclose that whole side by that fence. We just extend that current fence there and just close it off to the road,
And it wouldn't do anything before.
or not
it's
just the road.
Yeah. Where did you get your estimates, like concrete estimate?
Sure, so part of the, let's go through the itemization real quick. So concrete, I just estimated 550 per square foot, which is pretty much the going rate for any flat work right now.
Okay.
And that includes both material and labor. The surfacing, I found a product online, it's called Sports Pro Surfacing. It's kind of the gold standard for surfacing and painting courts. So I calculated those costs myself. The lighting, I reached out to Dave Perry. This lighting is the same lighting that he would be suggesting for the baseball, softball field lighting. So he gave me those quotes today, and that includes the labor as well. The net sets I looked up, there's a company in Hutch, Kansas, I think they're called First Team. So I was looking up their sets, they look like good quality. The fencing I was sourcing from Big Box Store. Big part of this is I would advocate to renovate our current tennis courts as part of this project to make it all one cohesive spot park. I feel like not doing so would be a hassle.
So they'd all look, make it all look the same.
So this is pretty impressive. If I'm reading this correctly, you're saying if we had it done by this, an estimate from this Mid-American Court Works, it's almost $250,000, but because of help from local.
So yeah, these figures are preliminary and it does include a lot of volunteer labor, right?
That's a huge statement.
It is. I reached out to 2 companies. One was willing to give me some soft quotes. He came and viewed the location, a couple follow-up calls. I worked with them to pick out specific pieces and we decided to set a contract to them. The big change in cost is they would want post-tension concrete, which is a stronger form of concrete. Not every concrete contractor has the expertise to do that. The benefit of that concrete is it uses less materials and it eliminates the need to have that expansion gaps.
What did you call it, I'm sorry?
Post-tension concrete.
Post-tension concrete, okay. Thank you, keep going, I'm sorry.
So it eliminates the need for expansion gaps and it reduces the chance of the concrete cracking and shifting. So if you go and look at, for example, when we go, they have some new pickleball courts, there's this post tension, they have no seams. The current tennis courts, not post tension, and there are some probably inch wide gaps.
That's what we have now. So, for what it's worth, as a former tennis player, maybe future, that's terrible. You can't play tennis on a tennis court like that. I mean, if you're good at hitting that line, it's helpful, because you win every court.
Everyone's playing on the
But
same
that
court.
is a horrible surface to play tennis on. Just by the way, so if you're gonna do a tennis court, I would suggest you get to practice.
So that is one thing to explore, whether maybe someone local could do post tension concrete. I have not gotten that far. Another piece is perhaps we could put expansion gaps in between courts rather than gap middle. Obviously not looking for any final decisions tonight. Couple more comments though, just so we can keep the ball rolling on this. As part of our funding strategy, I think that we could realistically fundraise from our community. I do have about 11 grand already promised towards this project, and I have not done a whole lot of outreach. I don't think it's realistic though to fund this whole project through, individual donors. So going forward, looking at these preliminary numbers, do you think that this would be something that the city might help support?
I'm for it. I mean, people I've talked to, some of them had no idea what pickleball was, but the ones that did, they're all for it. So I would be for something, I don't know, final version, I don't know, but I would be in favor.
I think it's a great idea.
But
Mr. Mayor, so, yeah, thanks for all the work. Thanks for, being that initiative, it's great. Certainly in favor of the project, I think it's gonna be a good addition to the park, a lot of momentum going towards these types of activities. A lot of people go to Walmart already, there's a growing interest, and I think it's gonna stay. That's kind of, sometimes new things come and go, but this one looks like it's gonna stay. I guess as far as the city's involvement, kind of something I did on the water department, when we looked at some of the water projects coming up, that kind of long-term plan, and because of that, we kind of saw what we needed to do to the water rates. Currently have kind of countywide sales tax fund 10-year plan that I kind of keep updated based on, the different projects we have going on. I'm happy to kind of just refine my numbers, bring that back to the next city commission meeting, and try to have it prepared in the packet. This is gonna come out of, more than likely, the countywide sales tax fund. Not sure if we have a lot in the Parks and Recs fund. So this might give us a better understanding of our current financial situation, the countywide sales tax fund, so we can maybe give a realistic number to the city's involvement. I'll bring that to the next commission meeting. Obviously, it's my numbers based on projections, but it's a good starting point.
Is there any takeaways or follow-up points that I should know?
No, not on the work we've done, on the funding, I mean, I have some ideas on the funding, but that's for another
It's
time.
a detail, but I think that concrete question is interesting, because it's a lot cheaper to do the non-green, or maybe you could just put lines in between, you save money, that can still work out. I think it's really good.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.
All right. Item I.
So at the last meeting, I was asked to draft an ordinance that would scratch number 4 of that. I did, and the secretary responded that for that, he's answer, I included his email in the packet.
Yeah, he didn't sound too,
And he says you should leave it as it is or repeal it. And then if you repeal it, make sure the vicious dog part of it. But I did follow through, but I did draft the ordinance, but, and I do see his point now that I,
Well, that was the one thing we all agreed on for sure, but what I said was I wasn't comfortable, what I said was I was uncomfortable until I had spoken to a veterinarian, which I did. And, I'm now comfortable removing any breed-specific, ordinance. Because now that I understand these things better, in fact, there are plenty of breeds, if we wanted to list all the breeds that could end up being dangerous, we'd have a lot of specific breeds, and so it's not sensible. In my opinion.
so you'd be recommending just repealing that?
Yeah, I have to review the other statutes to make sure we already have and I think we do robust ordinance that says, keep your dog on a leash, make sure it's, you're responsible for any.
So then I can draft that ordinance that we repeal it and bring it to the next meeting.
Charlie, do you wanna say something on that?
I think
I talked to Charlie, I know you.
I think that answered what I was gonna present. I contacted Kansas State University School of Veterinary Medicine and asked them what their opinion is on the breed-specific legislation. And if anybody wants copies, I have it from Dr. Bradley Fowler. He's been in the business for 30 years. There's also included from American Association of Veterinarians, if you want to take.
Well, I got the same thing, but I just, as I said, I was fairly ignorant, and now I'm less ignorant, so.
Maybe we'll arrange one for the. Yeah, they'll want one for stack, yeah.
Thanks.
So what was that that you had just,
So it sounds
I
like
missed
we're-
some of it. I was for repealing the entire ordinance
Correct.
The breed specific.
and holding owners of dog responsible.
Make sure our vicious dog ordinance has teeth. Unintended.
Yes, so, next meeting.
That's being one.
It should be on the agenda the next
It'll be on
meeting,
there, yeah,
that would repeal it.
we'll repeal it. All right, common consumption area
And Fifth Street.
and Fifth Street closing. All the drunk people are gonna be walking down Fifth Street.
Hey everybody, Pete Riley with the Cobb Valley Chamber of Commerce, the board members there, and my focus is primarily with the Main Street Committee. So, we did get this included in the packet, thanks for adding that on Friday when we sent that over. We are requesting the creation of a city ordinance to create a common consumption area from 7th Street through on Bertrand on 7th Street through the east end of the lot that contains Zapp's retail store and also Fire Tucks, which they currently have a liquor license, and then 5th Street down to Palmer. There's a few communities in Kansas that have done this recently. Cobb Valley Chamber of Commerce is offering to not only pay for the permit itself, that they use annually, but also to hold the permit, manage that aspect of it. Are there any questions on the proposal or the draft ordinance that was sent over?
Give me the areas again.
So Bertrand Ave from the intersection of Bertrand and 7th Street, inclusive of the railroad park.
Okay, yeah.
And down Bertrand, to the edge of the lot that is out along the map and the Fire Tucks, pizza shop.
Does it include that, the, prior Tucks, and so it's halfway between Fifth and Fourth, is that what you're saying?
Correct, yeah, that's really where the residential starts, so we can look there. Requirements for the state are pretty straightforward. There's signage on the boundaries, and then also, painted stencil on the sidewalks, so people can clearly see when they're entering and exiting the common consumption area. I've had a chance to talk to many of the business owners that are within that area, everybody that I've talked to has been supportive. And then, a lot of the research we did, not only working with, the state of Kansas, but also, bringing this to Chief Sid prior to, making any movements on it, to get his thoughts and feedback and support, which we were able to. He was very supportive of it as well. And after all of that work, we felt confident to bring us all of you to ask to have this ordinance created.
Another question, is this on both sides?
Correct, yeah, for both
And
sides.
so how does one get from one side of the street to the other? I mean, because I've been to New Orleans to the French Quarter and,
I would imagine we just use the crosswalk.
yeah, so that's designated, that's my question, is that has to be designated as well? Is
Yeah,
it-
so I think, and we could write it that it's instead of a line down the street, it covers the.
Yeah, I don't,
public
I mean,
walkways.
I like the
Is it
idea,
north
I
and
just
south?
wanna make sure that we're covered for if someone is carrying something.
Yeah, the example ordinances that I looked at for Topeka, Emporia, and Hayes, they didn't specify crossing the street, but some of them have multiple blocks. And in order to move freely throughout that area, you have to cross the street.
It's funny because to answer your question, Matt, I think in a way, last year we were in Fort Worth, Texas. I know Texas, not Kansas, but Fort Worth has many common consumption areas down by the stockyards, if you've ever been down there primarily. And I was talking to a couple of cops down there, and they said, yeah, if they venture out into the middle of the road with that beer and they don't use a crosswalk or designated crossing area, they're looking for that. Because when they first, I don't think this is exactly, I'm assuming they probably had some issues when they first did this common consumption area, and they weren't specific to that, to those questions, to those issues of what happens if they venture off into the middle of the roadway.
Yeah.
So even walking down the road in the stockyards in Fort Worth with a beer, you're fine as long as you're on the sidewalks or you're crossing on the road.
Correct, and it's nice that we've, there's been many instances, especially recently, where there's been a request for the open container ban, or however you want to phrase that, to be lifted for special events, like the Immaculate Consecration, the St. Patrick's Day event, and different things. I think it's been great because it's kind of given us an opportunity to do a little bit of a trial balloon and see how things go, and from all accounts, it seems as everything's going really well. The primary reason we're doing this is to make St. Mary's and our Main Street area more attractive to visitors, right? Increase foot traffic, but then also increase the amount of time that our visitors spend in that downtown area. For the local businesses in that area, it's totally up to them whether or not they want to participate. And there's a couple different, I'd say, classifications for these business types. There could be a business that's is not a current licensee, they don't have a liquor license. If they would like to participate in this, there's a couple of things to consider. One is, do they want to allow customers with beverage to come into the store? If they do not, they simply just put signage up on the door and they don't have to participate, they don't have to allow them in. If they would like to participate in a special event and they are within the common consumption area, there's a special permit they can apply for. You can use it for up to 3 days, and you can apply for up to 4 of them per year. So if you don't have a liquor license and you have an event in your shop and you'd like to incorporate alcoholic beverages in that to bring more people in to your store, you can do that up to 4 times per year. They would just submit that to the state and the Quad Valley Chamber as well for approval with us as the permit holder. We would help manage kind of the admin work on that. So the goal is not to bring this to work for anybody. The goal is to bring more people into town and make it a little more interesting, and then it gives us a really nice foundation to do more events and continue to build momentum with visitors and traffic.
But as it stands, if someone owns a store but doesn't have a liquor license, people, even though they're on the common consumption area on the sidewalk, they couldn't take their drink into the store. Is that?
They can as long, they can unless that business has signage up saying.
Okay,
no
so they don't
alcohol.
have to get that special permit?
Right, yeah,
You
if
type
they
it
want to
into
sell,
Oh,
or
okay,
do an event where their customers can purchase alcohol in there during that event and then leave with it, they would have to. Other than that, the requirements are pretty straightforward.
really basic question
Yeah.
here, sorry. An ordinance establishing the common consumption area, is this a one-time thing, or is this for an extended amount of time, like?
Yep.
For a full year?
Yeah, so it renews annually.
It's an order.
Okay,
Yep.
sorry, I was getting
The
confused.
permit renews annually. So
Okay,
there's the ordinance, which has to be in place. Once that ordinance is in place, we submit that in our packet to the state of Kansas along with our application. And that permit would have to be renewed annually. And then there's hours of operation around it as well.
okay, cause I read this like 3 times, I'm like, is he talking about the
Yeah,
football event, or is
the
this?
wording is,
So-
it's never super
And
straightforward.
you would manage all that part.
We would
Make
manage,
it possible for it to.
correct, we would manage the permit application, the permit costs, the special permit requests that come in for businesses that are within the common consumption area, or businesses that are not within the common consumption area, and they would like to set up, let's say, a concession booth for an event.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
So if they create the common consumption area and Call Valley Chamber becomes a permit holder, can there be other permit holders for the same common consumption area?
Not for the same common consumption area.
Okay, so then everything would have to be done through, if anybody wanted to have an event in that common consumption area, that'd be arranged to the chamber.
If they are not if they're not if they don't have a liquor license. For businesses that have a liquor license.
Well, I'm just saying, so saying there's some business and they just wanna have drinks out on their sidewalk.
Mhm.
And they wanna go through the process of, not this, but, having it fenced off and that sort of stuff, but it's within that common consumption area. Does that interfere with another business's ability to act independently?
Does that business have a liquor license already?
It has a temporary permit.
The temporary permit needs to be approved by the state and the permit holder. So that would be the state of Kansas and then Cow Valley,
So
yeah.
everything would go through the chamber.
If they do not have a liquor license. If they have a liquor license with the state, there's a form they fill out to participate in the common
They
consumption
get a
area.
caterer that has it, but I'm just saying if an individual business wants to do it on their own,
Yep,
they would have to go through here. So there's only one permit holder for I couldn't figure, I read this stuff more than
yeah,
3
so be
times.
through
I could not figure it out.
be through the state and the permit holder. We can't just say you're good to go without them also submitting the form 838 to the state.
No, I read everything to sign, and it's not clear there if there could be more than one permit holder, at least one to me. So thank you.
Pete, does it say what the hours are?
You know, we can make them whatever we'd like to be. Our proposal was 9 AM to 11 PM. The reason we chose 9 AM is so we don't put a common consumption area in place and then 2 months later have to come back and ask for a one-time adjustment.
But does the state have specific,
No, they leave it up to.
they leave it up to the?
Yeah, they leave it up to the city. The city can set the boundary, and then also the hours of operation.
Your executive summary says one thing and
Yeah, so there are a few changes that were made, and I didn't wanna send that over prior to this.
so it's 9 AM to,
9 AM to
midnight.
it says midnight here, so.
midnight, yes, 9 AM to midnight.
So if there was an event that was to be held down there, kind of piggybacking off what Marie said, someone wanted to set up a booth, they would come to you for the alcohol if they have a
Both us and the
temporary,
state.
so they wouldn't come to the
No.
city commission to, wow, we
I
don't.
know you love that part of the
Yeah.
job.
That area,
In that
extend it to the park.
Yeah.
Somebody mentioned that.
And the armory.
I didn't wanna come in asking for too much, right?
Oh.
Can't go.
Oh, we wanna-
We wanna change it, so we
Maybe
figured
we
we could
wanna
start
get it
with
on like
this and then,
So the city of Hayes recently amended theirs to involve some of their parks. That's what my question was to follow up, I was gonna ask was, so if people aren't allowed to bring it outside of that common consumption area, if it is taken out there, that's a violation, that falls back on the permit holder.
correct.
Or the licensee in certain instances, whatever. But my question was gonna be, is I think you may wanna extend this somehow so that it could be taken down to the park.
Well, it goes right, I mean, essentially.
that was- But that was the city of Hayes, and if you Google it, it shows right up.
Yeah.
It's worth exploring, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, and that was a pretty big discussion point, with the park as well. I think there was also a few things that we were looking at around the
sorry, I'm just trying to think of the spot.
For the park, if that falls under it, or is that an open container, or are those two different mechanisms that,
Yeah, could we permit it to the park and then, but we were wondering, could we permit it to the park? And then at that point, the city would just have to get rid of the alcohol.
the alcohol ban in the park?
Permit it to the boundary of the park or?
To the boundary of the park, to the entrance of the park, but then at that point,
That wasn't something.
Maybe get the big red sign with the down.
Well, my point would be to provide the access to get there, and once you're
Yes,
there,
that's-
it's
That's
all
what we were
the
thinking
thing
as well.
around.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, I see what you're saying, thank you.
yeah, and once you're there, so there's some rules, but the city attorney has been reviewing those in general, but we don't have anything to
Not that I don't trust what you said, chief, you're good to go on all of this, this is,
Yeah, I'm good to go. Pete met with me a while back, and we had a discussion on it, and yeah, like I told him, I mean, there's already a lot of events whenever the commission grants the armory pretty much every Saturday. In general, you know, I would place a lot of trust in our community, a lot of times families, you know, little issues here and there, but they're very rare and far between. I don't think it's gonna cause us any heartburn. So yeah, I'm supportive. Cool.
Could I ask while the chief's here, not that we necessarily want to do it right away, but in the same way, we're constantly waiving the rules of the armory, we're constantly waiving the rules of the park for special events. Have you ever noticed that there's a problem with that? Like, is that a little bit more risky because you have, I don't know, more activity going on in the park, or?
No, I mean, you know, I think we as police would respond to if there is an issue, but I don't want to stand in the way of people doing things that we're not doing, having these events. I was even talking with Maurice, I'm all for streamlining it because I know in some ways it's checks and balances, you guys have to make your decision on certain things, but also to what extent is it a constant flow of whenever, especially with these folks wanting to have events and things like that. I think there's certain things that if there haven't been issues or there's not a great concern about, hey, what, I think one of these things should be streamlined. But like I said, I think in the 6 years I've been here, going on 6 years, we haven't about had one or two issues with that. People who create issues anyway, even if they're.
Whenever it was COVID.
Yeah.
all right.
I know we have to all do it at once, but I mean, I see this red line that goes down in the Hampton Park.
Or with the park having it, bring it in, bring the park in and just,
I'm not just going to do that today, but
Right.
it makes sense to me,
Good.
because
I
whenever
agree.
anyone asks for special permission for an event, we say, yes.
yeah, well, I don't remember us ever saying
Because
no.
we generally trust the community.
Go ahead.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, so, quick question, the city, each year we approve the applications for restaurants.
Oh, for the cereal malt beverage licenses, that's what the city controls, the licenses of the state.
So, I'm reading through, one of these, this is
An handbook?
yeah, an handbook for common consumption areas, looks like this is, okay, Division of Alcohol Beverage Control.
Right.
So authorized activities, if I'm reading this correctly, if a licensee, so that's one of our restaurants, businesses that has a license issued by the ABC, they also have to apply to ABC to participate in a common consumption area.
If businesses with a license within the common consumption area, yeah, right.
Then that allows the licensee to sell, offer for sale, serve alcoholic liquor in C&B from one non-contiguous service area within the common consumption area. The licensee must receive permission from the common consumption area permit holder. So the business, if I'm reading this correctly, would need permission from the chamber in order to participate.
Not if they already have a liquor license, and I called them today to clarify that point. If they have a liquor license and they're within the common consumption area, they submit, I can't remember the exact number of the form, to the state to be able to. They told me the.
Okay, well, I don't know, talked to them, they said, yes, just get us something.
To go outside.
To go outside, not to sell,
Today's is
not to sell my restaurant, but, well, so, I mean, it doesn't mean that there's no break.
Well, it doesn't,
It doesn't change that they can't sell in the restaurant, it just, they're gonna step up.
So my question, okay, great people at the Colorado Valley Chamber of Commerce, right? You're gonna like well businesses, but is there kind of a, what do you think about the idea of just saying, hey, if the licensee, and so they have to get your permission, and basically say, hey, the permit holder will give permission, unless they have reason to deny it. So it just makes, if we're going to give the Colorado Valley Chamber of Commerce essentially control over who gets to participate in these, it's kind of delegating out a lot of authority to a non-elected board. Do you see a way to put that in the ordinance, kind of to say, hey, in order to deny a licensee from participating in it, you would have to have good cause?
Yeah, I think it'd be, if we as a permit holder are liable for violations to that common consumption area, I would, my thought would be that we would like to be able to have the ability to discern a suitable organization or not to participate in the common consumption area.
Let me ask this, is this normally, is the, what's it called, the license, who's the controller of the area?
Permit holder?
Permit holder. Would it normally be the case that the city is the permit holder?
Well, there's three options, a city, individual that's approved by the city, and organization that's approved by the city.
Yeah, Emporia did some, visited Emporia, that group.
Well,
Emporia is approved by their police department.
I think Francis has a good point in that we're essentially delegating, in a way, some control over city property to non-elected city officials. I mean, you would have the capacity here, so we're saying generally, we approve of this as being a common consumption area.
Right.
But you could say, but not for you. You could, technically, you could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it would be their advantage.
Any, whoever the permit holder is.
The permit holder would organize the events, the licensee could
But I
still sell
don't,
their
my
own
sense is
stuff as it is now.
it's
within
not
their
a common
premises.
consumption area only for special events. It's a common consumption
Yeah,
area,
it'd be-
period. And
At all
they
times,
have
common
control of
consumption
it.
area. So we do need to clarify, it's my understanding, confirming this today.
no, I'm kind of going down, I think, the same road as Maurice here. If Friar Tuck sells beer and you can't stop them from selling beer because they have a license to sell beer, and then somebody walks out and goes down the crosswalk and crosses down and walks in front of, I mean, you can't tell, even if you are the permit holder, you can't stop Tom and Mary Ann Gaynor from selling beer to somebody.
No, absolutely not.
But you could keep them out, you could say that they couldn't, that their patrons couldn't take that beer into the common consumption area, correct?
We could, I don't.
Yes, we could,
why
cause
we
we hold the
Right,
risk,
that's the
but,
point.
Yeah.
And I'm not
That's
saying
not
that they
the point.
would,
No,
but they
no.
could, and they're not city officials.
Why would you, if you against your own self?
Right, yeah, I don't know why we would.
You could write the ordinance that all licensees are automatically.
But I'm not
So
sure.
that was my understanding today, was that license, and let's use Friar Tuck as the example, because they are currently the licensee. They don't need our approval. That was.
They don't need your approval to sell.
No, they don't
But
need our,
would need-
no, they don't need our approval to participate in the CCA. The discussion I had with ADC this morning, we clarified, business, a current licensee within the CCA, current licensee outside of the CCA, non-licensee in the CCA, and a non-licensee outside of the CCA.
So
The
if
first
I-
one, okay.
Well, I'm sorry, if me as just Joe Citizen.
Yep.
I go up to my house, get a cooler, throw 12 pack of beer in there, go down, park in front of Sugar Creek, start walking down the street.
Yep.
I can pop one of those beers open.
Correct.
So whether I mean, and then if you guys say, where'd you get that beer?
Where'd you buy it from?
At Rada's liquor store,
Oh, okay, and the license, because you can't bring it from outside.
or either, no,
Not BYOB, I wrote down, so, but,
you
Is that
can't
in
do
the
that?
state or other city ordinances?
but I'm interested.
No, Maurice, so if I bought beer in Topeka,
So, yeah,
I couldn't bring it into the common consumption area?
I don't believe so, he's saying differently, but the common consumption area only allows the possession and the consumption, not the sales. So it'd have to come from a licensee, but if you're gonna bring it in from Topeka and just sit on Main Street and drink all day, part of the day.
Yeah.
Part of the
Only from 9 AM to midnight.
7 days a week. So you're saying that, well, go ahead,
That is something that's up to each individual city, how they'd like to write it into the ordinance. Whether or not it has to be purchased in the common consumption area to be consumed in the common consumption area.
Let's
So-
talk about the common consumption area then for just a second.
Yeah.
We have, currently, then we only have what? Friar Tuck's,
Mhm.
B&B, and the liquor store.
And they would not be, they would not be considered in the common consumption area.
Who?
So the liquor store is technically, it's confusing, but they
Because-
can't, so if you're gonna say you can't bring beer from outside of that area, then the liquor store is considered outside of that area because they are not allowed to get a SB 88 or whatever it's called.
To serve it, they
To
can sell it, they
So they can sell it,
Oh,
but
they
they can sell it, but then you would still be considered
Okay, so
being purchased
B&B and
outside
Friar
of the
Tuck's
common
are the only
consumption.
ones that can, that,
And then any business within there that would like to do a special permit, they can do that up to 4 times per year. But the way we propose the ordinance does not require the alcohol to be purchased in the common consumption area to then be consumed in the common consumption area. So I could.
and if you do that, I'm sorry, Pete, but if you do that, that takes away the concerns, I think, of the other commissioners. I mean, it just wipes those off, because if you're not requiring that it be purchased, from somebody within the common consumption area, then you really don't have any, I mean, you can't, I guess you could still technically stop somebody from selling in the common consumption area.
If somebody, if they wanted to get a special permit and sell in the common consumption area for the special permit, you get up to 4 times per year for a maximum of 3 days. So as an example, let's say you, put some cornhole boards in the back of your truck, park, go down the railroad park, and then you're playing cornhole, and then you walk over to the Vaders, get yourself a drink, walk out the door, don't open it in there, walk out, after you get out, open it, walk down the railroad park, have a drink, play cornhole, here you go.
You're good to go.
Correct. The purpose of this, we wanna bring more people.
You're not gonna go around saying, hey, where'd you buy that, or where'd you get that?
No, one of the requirements, and this is at the state level,
there's a logo and a.
if for businesses that are selling beverages that their customers can take out, they're participating in the CCA, they do have to have some type of logo or a unique identifier. And I think, I don't know exactly why they have that there, but, the responsibility of anybody with a liquor license to serve responsibly doesn't change, right? Just like the CCA doesn't change, anything around public intoxication or legal drinking age, it's just a lot.
So back to your cornhole example.
Yep.
Combining that with, Gerard's question. If you go down to the park and you bring your own drink,
Mhm.
and you don't buy it at Debaters, there's no marker on that says you gotta bring, are you allowed to drink that or not?
Yeah.
So the park wouldn't be part of the common
Well,
consumption area.
you said
The
river.
park- Oh, it's a river.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Modelo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep,
So what's the point of having the container marked if you buy it from?
that's a state requirement, that's one of the few stipulations that the state has, probably for, I can imagine,
Is that for businesses that don't have a liquor license and only wanna participate in this?
For a business that has a liquor license and is participating in the CCA. In order to participate in the CCA, whether you're on a permanent liquor license or a temporary 3A special permit, you would have to have a logo on the glasses or the cups that your customers are leaving with. And that's not something we can take out as one of the requirements from the state around this.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So earlier I brought up question about delegating authority to a non-elected board, the Caldwell organization. The one thing we would maintain is the authority over the city ordinance. Not 100% saying this is a perfect way to make sure things are personal and they're more objective, as far as who gets it, and let's say somebody is denied. You know, to say, all right, fine, you're the permit holder, you do have the last say on who gets denied, but we can also retract the ordinance as well.
Yeah.
So under the current scenario and current idea for the ordinance, that would be the recourse that the city commission would have, is let's say we find a next generation of Caldwell Chamber is not allowing people to participate that normally should be able to, maybe. You know, yeah, there is probably no perfect way, but that would be the recourse the city commission would have, and it's just to pull the ordinance, but.
Yeah.
So if it was getting abused, there is a recourse, so, and that does fall back on the commission's shoulders, so I'm okay with it as written.
What do you need from us?
Just if there's a consensus to move forward with it, it's gonna take a while to work on this ordinance. We gotta get drafted. So, just, we'll work on it.
Okay. Fifth, closing Fifth Street?
Before we go to that, one last piece with the CCA, and we haven't talked about it enough. The lead time for the state to approve, the CCA permit after they receive the ordinance, a finalized ordinance, is about 30 days. Initially, we were hoping to have this in place in time for the Main Street event that is happening on June 15th. I understand that's not that far away right now, and that might not be realistic. With that being the case, we'd like to, if there's a process for me requesting this in a different manner, please let me know. But we'd like to request a temporary lifting of the open container ordinance for that same area on Saturday, June 15th.
Saturday.
The same that's outlined here on the.
Correct.
I'm not sure we
Essentially
can do
want
that.
a temporary CCA.
I'm not, so we have, our ordinance says that, unless posted, in the park, if it's posted, you can't have CMDs, you take it down. I'm not sure about sidewalks.
What do we do, we did that for the
Yeah, it's-
concentration.
But
It's
it's
the
in the
same
state,
thing, it's the
though.
same through the state, so you have to those still write whatever, I can't remember what Andrea.
We've got some resolutions, that
It's, we need a resolution, that's
Just maybe declare it an event or whatever, but you'll be getting everything through the state, and then you're just asking for permission.
Yes.
Yes.
Alright, so we meet the 4th, we can have that, cause we already got it written, just have
Yeah, come back on the
to
fourth.
change it up.
Great, somebody will.
No, yeah, we'll be here.
That was, those were difficult to do at the time, because just like they were saying different things when they were heard from the state,
Is it any
and it's
faster
not a knock
to
on
do
the
that
state.
than
It's
to
just,
get the CCA approved?
so, no, this is the way to go through the resolution and,
Okay.
thank you.
Closing Fifth Street.
Yes, same event, Saturday, June 15th. We're gonna do a football tournament on the corner lot of Fifth and Bertrand, with several football fields set up there. And then also a couple of lots down in the park, right next to the pool house, that open lot right there. So we're expecting quite a few teams to play, a lot of traffic, a lot of people visiting. We would like to request the closure of, initially we were thinking from Fifth Street to Palmer or the park, but I have to do a little more research. The Armory is scheduled for a wedding reception that afternoon. So we'd like to request, and we don't want to close the street for a wedding reception, but we would like to request Fifth Street and Bertrand to the alley, halfway down the block of Fifth Street there. So that first alley that runs parallel to the south of 24. Just to obviously reduce traffic, so for safety, create a little extra space. I imagine we'll probably have some vendors set up there as well.
But you also understand the parking lot that is just west of the Armory is for the people that are renting the Armory.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. they get access to that. So I don't have any problem with that. Just consensus?
Yeah.
Matt? Yep, good to go.
Okay, so that's all I have, and I'll see you all in 2 weeks. Is there anything, any takeaways, any action items for myself or, anybody else that's working on this project that you need?
Check with more, I would say just check with Maurice and see if
Or
you've
the
got it.
common consumption area,
Correct.
I'm gonna take that ordinance and put it in our format and look at it, and then I can send it to you, I have you send it, and make sure it says what you want it to, and I can send it to our city attorney for review.
Okay,
But yeah.
well, that sounds great. Hey, thank you all so much, I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Pete, appreciate it. All right, Teresa, the ditch, come on up.
My dad fell asleep.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, I get
Well, I can tell them what you showed me.
There you go.
So before the meeting, Teresa showed me some pictures of the ditch. And where's that exactly again on,
It's right behind my parents.
right behind your parents' house? And it hasn't been mowed, trees are growing up in.
The dike, this is the
The dike.
The levee?
Yeah, the
Oh,
levee,
yeah. Well, we bought the machine to do it.
Where-
Yeah.
I don't think the machine's gonna be able to get down there.
Where is that?
Where's the machine or where are we talking
Well-
about? Where's the machine?
It's back here.
Can you get in there, Bob, where she's talking about? You know. where she-
Oh, yeah, I'd have to look at it. I don't know.
The slopes are
Specifically, where do your parents live?
211 South Frame. There's my mom.
So we have been burning it too, but we bought the machine.
It hasn't been run for 2 years.
He said had been.
Well, we tried to mow it last year, if you remember.
Can you check on that, Bob, to see if that machine can get down in there?
Yeah. It's got some reach.
We'll give it a shot, that's one of the benefits of having it.
Yeah, that's why we bought it. I mean,
Yeah.
doesn't it extend out?
A ways, I don't know, 10 or 12 feet out, it'll go out.
But like if it goes down like that,
It'll reach from the top. I mean, maybe not clear to the bottom, but up for a ways.
so you don't have to go, I guess in my head, I was thinking you would have to go actually in the ditch and get it from the
Oh.
sides.
No,
But it doesn't go
stay on
like that.
top and just reach down in there,
Oh, okay, okay.
our arm on it.
So you have to go on
Top.
Yeah.
That won't be good.
Year.
I'll have to look at it though.
I had asked Bob to get around to the apartment. To give an update on the boiler, remember that one? The boiler?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I also want to have you give an update on the grader. Having some stuff done on. Also, I wanted to give you an update on the Sequent project, we started technically last Friday.
Yes, it's good.
And we'll be going to the meeting here. And I'll just skip ahead to mine. I got the budget sheets, the same approved budget format. I've got the 2023 numbers to match the audit, 2024, as we adopted them. And then the work session we usually have is the last Thursday, or last Tuesday in June. What you think about for the next meeting, when you like to have that work session, or have more than one. That sales tax one is, that sales tax budget will be critical for the C-flip. And we just approved the on the sidewalk and something else in there, so. But that's all I have. If there aren't any questions.
Well, we're gonna have to wait with Bobby, with Bobby. Yeah, I would like to.
I asked you today.
What is where I'm getting the entire month of June,
Month of June.
so I know that causes everyone, so. Fluttering hearts.
Only if you're gonna have, only if you're having fun.
And so I would hate to miss a work session, but
We'll pick a work session out next time. I'd like to do an earlier one because the deadline is July 15th, to notify the county about the if you're gonna exceed the, what do we call that,
Yeah.
limit. And I just think there's a lot to work out, especially,
The revenue neutral rate.
yes, revenue neutral rate. That's still the July, I like to have it done ahead of time and have a chance to catch any mistakes, and that sort of thing. So, and maybe we have it in between the city commission meetings, like, from the first to the fourth, you have it the following week, because it needs to be done on a non-meeting night.
Yeah.
And that would need plenty of time to work things up and bring it back. But we'll as soon as you say next week.
Okay.
Bob, it's your.
Bob, your turn.
What did you want to hear?
I want to hear about the oiler, the
oiler,
grader, the C-clip.
Yeah, so, they called me last week, said they about got it done, they noticed one, vent pipe comes from the top and it goes down to the bottom. It had a crack in it, and I knew it did a couple of years ago, and they said, we can change it once a year, and I was like, yeah, I know I do it, it's another $300 or something. Well, I think that's the only thing holding it up, they must have to order that part or didn't get it in yet, so he said that's all that was left. The C-clip, you notice they started up 63 on the ramps. There's gonna be a little difference in what we're used to, just because they're gonna be directional, they're not gonna just be a rounded, ADA compliant curve, they're gonna be going this way and going this way, so.
Did you talk to him about Elm Street?
I did talk to them twice about Elm Street, getting that cut in. Stubbed it, but they still haven't cut it yet, so.
Yeah, that's pretty, I mean, I'm sure you know, it's kind of tight with the traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that, I was over there the other day.
Yeah. You gotta have room for their equipment and stuff, the trucks. They're moving right along, they've got 2 intersections the curb line done, and a 3rd line partially done. So I'm wondering, they're up there now. Hopefully they can stay on, they're concerned that they've got 2 or 3 other jobs opened up in Topeka that they're working on right now, but they've got more rain than we did, so they're out here working on this, and they said if we can stay here, they'd have them done in 2 weeks. And it won't take long once they start the milling.
Yeah, that notice to proceed was 50 working days for substantial completion. So that puts us out of ways, whatever. Next item, I just want you to talk about trees, if you have any.
Trees, yes, so, we had a big thing happen last week. A big oak branch just fell for no reason in the park area. Could have been bad, but luckily it wasn't. Nobody got hurt, smashed a picnic table, but it can be replaced. So I reached out to K-State Extension Services. Gal came down and we walked through the park and showed her, and she looked at it and she said that the oak trees look good. They were a little stressed just because of the weather, but she referred to it as a fluke. She thought maybe it got damaged a little bit with that windstorm, and then just the growth and everything coming out, it was just enough weight. Fell down, and we walked through, looked at some other trees, and she identified that she'd come out. And so we've been working on that, and also going through and cutting a lot of dead stuff, under the canopy. They're not getting the sun, and so the branches die under it, so cutting all those out. They've been doing that yesterday and today. 2 hackberries down by Diamond 5 that were damaged enough that they needed to come down completely. I think there's 2 more that need to come out. So we're losing a lot of trees. And she's gonna send me some information on some nurseries they use for purchasing new ones. She suggested not to go over 7-8 foot trees, because when they dig those trees out, if they're any bigger than that, they really don't get a substantial amount of root growth with it. They just have the root ball. So Her suggestion was like 6 footers, 6 to 7.
She told you where to buy them at?
She was supposed to send me some, I haven't got anything yet, but she has some nurseries in mind.
So I was gonna print off an old map of the park and have Bob kind of mark where he would like to plant them. And then you guys can look at it and see, and then move forward with it. But overall, it's a pretty good visit.
Yeah, she liked the variety, she thought we were doing a good job, keeping them trimmed up and lots of shade. Good thing.
Yeah, but that branch that fell down was heavy.
Yeah, I saw the picture, I didn't get down there to see it, but I saw the picture.
Chuck's off.
It was a fluke, but it would have damaged somebody.
I mean, that just could happen to any tree, I guess, So, somewhat of a risk for
Yep.
any tree.
Anyway,
All right,
anything else?
No.
I appreciate it.
all right, everybody, no more, nothing else, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn, do we have a second?
I'll second.